And some of the challenges that we are faced with, which are high in Woma, is the high school dropout rate, where the kids just drop out of school due to motivation or whatever family issues that they have, where the high substance abuse
I think we've lost Fundile. I don't know whether it's from my side or we've lost him.
Andisiwe, I can also not hear Fundile anymore.
Okay, I'll continue. I'm sure he'll try to log in again. As we did mention to those who came in a bit early, we are experiencing load shedding in South Africa. So I'm sure it's also disturbing his connection. So basically in this slide, it's just a background of the community that we work on, or the type of people that we work with. So it's a disadvantaged community where there is a high rate of youth unemployment, and which is a result of school dropout. So these are the issues, or some of the issues, that we directly face when working with the communities. It was important for us to share this so that we understand why we use our model, or why do we use it as holistic as it is. Thank you, Sabrina. You can go to the next slide for me. So with that being said, about the community, this is the Changemaker model that we use. Our model is learner-centered or child-centered. We select a very few learners. Unfortunately, we cannot work with everyone if we go into a school. So it would be in a group of Learn for Life, where they work weekly. So they have weekly sessions. We work with a learner holistically. We support the learner with academics to unleash their potential, to support them with their subjects that they need more support on, so that we contribute academic life of a learner. As we did mention in our challenges, that we have a high school dropout. We also have life skills program, which is the one Fundile is a coordinator of, called Learn for Life. There they get to learn about different topics from grade 3, from the 3rd grade up until the 12th grade. Basically their personalities being strengthened, and we try to encourage them to be active citizens and also increase their resilience against the disadvantages and of the society. So that one child will receive the academic support, the life skills, and also we have an extracurricular component where, as Fundile mentioned, that they will join drama or arts or choir. So there they discover their talents, and so that they can increase their self-confidence, because we know that not all learners will be academically given, or also that we should not try to improve or focus on academics only. So that gives those learners that are talented a chance to also unleash their potential in other areas of their lives. And because the community is disadvantaged and there are many challenges, so we find out the child may not be able to cope in some manners, and so that our social workers, who also have social assistants for the children, so that's where the social workers come in to prevent or overcome individual challenges. Could be issues of self-esteem, could be issues at home, a dysfunctional family. or issues of trauma. So that's where our social assistance would come in. So that child or that one learner being capacitated in different areas of their lives, they then have a responsibility, or rather are empowered and activated to reach out to their peers and their families. So that is how the Changemaker model is built, that we empower one individual in all those 4 aspects or 4 components, so that they are empowered enough to reach out to other people. So I think Fundile is back, and I will give over to him to just summarize the Changemaker model and move on to the next slide as well. Over to you, Fundile. Thank you.
Thank you, Andisiwe. So sorry for disappearing. I got lost in connection. And thank you, Andisiwe, for explaining the Changemaker model that we use. You can move to the next slide. That's okay. And I think you've summed it up perfectly. And then I'm going to now focus on the one program that we use, or that I work under, which is the Learn for Life program. I'm waiting for the next slide. Under Learn for Life, we at the moment have 165 participants. All those participants are in groups. We have 10 groups at the moment, from grade 3 to grade 11. And these kids attend weekly life skills training with a facilitator. And what happens basically are the participants deal with one topic per term. So that's every one topic for 3 months. And these topics are age related or age relevant for the participants, and are connected to the life orientation syllabus, which is a subject in the schools, which is all about general knowledge and awareness for the participants in their schools. And these topics basically are related to the curriculum of life orientation. And these kids basically come every week to our Changemaker Academy and have practical lessons with their facilitators on a weekly basis, dealing with whatever topic that is set for them for that term. Obviously, that is age relevant. And once per term, the participants know that they will have an excursion where they will go out to a place that deals particularly with the topic. So if their topic, for example, is daily illnesses, the facilitator has the responsibility then to look for an excursion that is relevant to that particular topic. That would be a clinic or any other place that is relevant to the topic, where they get expert knowledge on the topic that they're dealing with on a weekly basis. And towards the end of the lesson, this is where now the participants take ownership after having learned throughout the term about all the information about the relevant topic that they were dealing with. This is where now they take ownership of the topic that they were learning about, and they now share the knowledge with their peers. This is where now the change maker in them kicks in, and they share the knowledge with their peers through various methods. It could be through creating a booklet, it could be through having an event, it could be through debates, etc., etc. So they come up themselves with the assistance of the facilitator on ways that they can share the knowledge that they have with their peers. So that's where now the participants very importantly take ownership and are well prepared and are trained by their facilitator on how they can share the knowledge that they've gained throughout the term with their participants. The participants as well are also equipped with various extracurriculum activities or programs. For example, we have swimming for the younger groups. They learn how to surf. There's fitness as well. And then once per year, we have an annual camp. So we have now split the camps into 2. We have a winter camp for the older participants from grade 8 to grade 11, where they go to a winter camp, and the junior grades go to a spring camp. That's a grade 3s to grade 7s. And at the camp, basically, they are there with us for 6 days, and they are learning on a particular topic that we identify as relevant or relatable for depending on what the issues that we've been facing with generally with the participants. And they deal and learn about that particular topic for that 6 weeks. And after that 6 weeks, they come back and they have to do camp campaigns. Now, for example, you can see below there, we have different topics that we've dealt with in previous camps. We have climate change as one of the topics that we did in 2022. We have human rights that we did in 2021. That was one of the topics that we did. And other topics are healthy lifestyle and democracy. You can go to the next slide. And then after the camp, the participants, as I mentioned, they take ownership of the topic again, and we call them camp campaigns. Now, that is where all the information that they were learning for that 6 days, they come up with a campaign or whatever way or strategy they would want to share that information with that they learned throughout the 6 days with the community or with their peers. So this is an example of an awareness that the participants came up with last year after our camp. And there's a poster on the top left. We had a warmer community cleanup, where we invited the community to come and join us in raising awareness about climate change. So the participants basically took initiative and walked around the community with a loud hailer, were picking up the dirt around the community and just raising awareness about climate change, the 4 R's, and they would stop along the road and speak to community members just to raise awareness about what is climate change, how it affects them, how it will affect them, or how it affects them in their daily lives. And the other part of the cleanup was before that they did activations in schools. So they visited 3 high schools within the Nelson Mandela region, where they were raising awareness about climate change and how it's affecting them, and the importance of just being aware, the importance of the 4 R's, and how what part they can play in raising awareness about climate change. So this is just an example of what happened. And as you can see, the participants were the ones that took ownership and that came up with the initiative of having a warmer cleanup and also activations in high schools, and them taking ownership and discussing with their peers. So that is just an example of how they use the Changemaker model that we have through Learn for Life. I will hand over now back to Andisiwe to discuss her project. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Fundile. Before I explain further my project, I just want to clarify that it is what Masifunde does outside the Woma location. So the Masifunde Changemaker network goes beyond just Woma, but to the Nelson Mandela Bay district. So we go into 45 more schools, and this year Masifunde's work has also went to 4 more provinces in South Africa. So with the Changemaker model that I explained before, when Fundile lost his network, some people, when we present the Masifunde work, feel like it's necessary that you have all those pillars, that you have the academic support, you have the life skills, which is the knowledge or the topics that you want to deal with. You must have the extracurricular programs, which is art, and also social worker. So they feel like if they don't have all those 4, they are not able to empower young people. But that is not true, because this project does not have all the 4 pillars, but however, it has the foundations or the basics on how to activate young people. So basically, with the Changemaker network, what it aims to do, or the objectives are to encourage young people to take responsible, positive action, which is, I believe, what today is all about, the how do we take action. And also to take action and find constructive solutions, and to understand that young people have the power to impact and influence their peers and subsequently their communities, and advocate for vulnerable groups. So the Masifunde Changemaker network is based on advocacy and being active in a community, so that they can create an environment that enthuses them to be resilient and reimagine possibilities above and over socioeconomic disadvantages of their reality. So we would focus on topics such as school safety, because we work in school. So that would be understanding violence, prevention of gender-based violence in schools. We focus on leadership, the inclusion of persons with disabilities. We are yet to also focus on environment and climate change. And another topic that is very relevant in South African schools is bullying. So we'd equip learners on information about bullying and empower them or equip them with tools and methods on how they can advocate against bullying in schools. Can you please go to the next slide for me, Sabrina? Thank you, this one. So this is how we do it. So we have 3 phases in the Changemaker network, which is the project of Masifunde's work outside Woma Township, where we are originally based at. So the first phase, it's the activation workshops. The activation workshops is basically we go into schools. So we take the first part or step into going into schools and activate young people to be change makers by means of, so this workshop is a 45 minutes workshop. It's facilitated by Masifunde's facilitators. It's there to encourage young people to see themselves as potential change makers who can promote equality and raise awareness about issues of public concern. So in the workshop, another very important part is that learners elect 2 of their peers to represent them, to represent their school as change makers. And the ones that are selected would then attend a 1-week training. The reason why we use that method of learners selecting one another and not maybe asking a teacher to select a learner for us or us selecting a learner is because we want that learner to go back to the school and be accepted by their peers. So it's more of learners selecting a learner that they believe has the potential or has the leadership potential already. Even with people who do not work with schools, it's very important to be a leader of your people. So yes, the first option is to volunteer yourself, obviously, so that you may take ownership and drive of the program, but also when you come back to the people, when you come back to the school, people know you because they voted you into being a change maker. And then the second phase would be the change maker training. So the selected learners from the schools would then attend a 1 week, so a 5 days training to become capacitated in the core topics and receive tools and methods necessary to act as change makers. So basically the tools are youth friendly, they are engaging, we use different methods and create a safe environment which encourages dialogues, positive thinking, and action. So those would be your small group discussions, your role plays, and also giving them opportunity to come up with ideas, even if you see that the idea is too big, but just not limiting young people to dream and think out of the box. So the objective of this training is just to create a common understanding of the importance of youth participation and resilience. So yeah, so that is the main objective, that they go out there understanding that as young people, they have a role to play and they don't have to wait, right? Because our slogan in the project is why not you, why not now? So it's up to them, and it's up to them to do it now. whatever idea that they have is up to them, and to implement it now. And then the third and final phase of the project is the outreach or the campaigning. So now the change makers that have went to the activation workshop, that have been trained intensively on the topics, then address their peers at school. So this could be a school assembly, a classroom, on the core topics that they have been trained on. So they share their knowledge, basically. They've learned through workshops, through presentation, and through art forms. They hand out a youth magazine called the Spark magazine to all the learners in the school, and this acts as their first act of being change makers. So it's their primary act of being positive social change agents. So the Spark magazine is published for each topic that we train them on. So for instance, if we have a topic on bullying, we have a Spark magazine on bullying. We have a topic on conflict management, so we would publish a magazine on conflict management as well. And the content is combined by experts and the learners themselves. So the learners get to voice out their experience about the topic before the training, and also after the training. So how has their perception of the topic changed? So they get to contribute articles or maybe poems in the magazines as well. Can you please go to the next slide, Sabrina? So these would be examples of the outreach. So sorry, pictures failed me on this one. I couldn't gather enough pictures for examples. But on the left, you'd see a young grade 9 learner delivering a speech to his whole school. So that is a peer-to-peer education or peer-to-peer approach. So there was a campaign on bullying and gender-based violence at schools. So this young man has a passion for public speaking, and he used that passion to address his peers on bullying, as it was an issue in his school. And then in the middle, we have a group of learners brainstorming. So that would be involvement in goal setting and planning. So it's very important to be involved in the beginning phases of a project or of a campaign, so that one may take ownership. So these kind of young people are the ones that like to plan and execute ideas. So they make ideas into reality. And then the last one on the right is the caption there is creation of safer spaces. This could mean physical safer spaces, or generally young people or those change makers being positive role models to other learners, and being a bridge of knowledge to other learners, because we always encourage them that whatever they learn at Masifunde, they must go share it with other learners. And also them being referral points, because we don't encourage them to render counseling services to other learners because they're not qualified, but rather to refer. So they should be aware of referral points within their reach. Thank you so much. We can go to the next slide. So basically, for us, it is all about simplifying everything, because we work with young people. And I believe that works even if the audience is a bit older, just to simplify everything. So a change maker would be someone who takes creative action to solve a social problem, big or small. That is what it takes to be a change maker. So you do not have to look out of the box to be a president, but yet it doesn't mean that as young people, we cannot tackle big issues, because the topics themselves are global issues. The topics of climate is a global issue. So an act towards that has a global impact. And I guess this series of think global, act local explains that, as much as you would be acting local, but it has a global impact. So a change maker is someone who would take action to solve such a problem or to contribute towards a social problem, whether it's local or global. And also a change maker is someone who desires positive change, but not only desires that change for their surrounding, but also makes that change happen. So they do something, they identify a problem, they spot a problem, and work towards actions that aim to solve that problem. So characteristics of a change maker would be someone who's action-based and solution-orientated after identifying a problem, because identifying a problem is easy, it wouldn't take even a second for one to think about their problem. But then the difference between a good citizen and an active citizen, which is a change maker, is that they are action-based, they do something about it. And it is someone who navigates positively through the challenges the world presents and reimagines a better way of moving forward. That person, in a nutshell, is a change maker. And I believe everyone who's here today can identify with those definitions of being a change maker. The fact that you sacrificed your time on a Thursday to be here, you are a change maker, and you are one step forward. Thank you, Sabrina. You can go to the next slide. Thank you. So with that definition, as simple as it is, one may still ask, okay, how do I make this change? Or how do I take this action? We always say, look within you, right? Look within you. And we try to break it down into 3 types. So we say there are 3 types of change makers. One, they are creatives, they are communicators, and they are organizers. So the creative change makers would usually be people who have mastered or are working towards an artistic skill such as singing, writing, rapping, acting, painting. They might have even gained digital skills such as coding, computer literacy, designing, or even handmade skills such as jewelry making. We have Pelelani here. Pelelani, they make jewelry out of cycle material, and then she teaches other young people to do the same. So someone who's creative in that manner. So you could be handmade skills, digital skills, or artistic skills. Those people are change makers. And in our days, we see creatives taking up spaces such as modeling industries, vloggers, filmmakers, and many other innovative roles. Just like the name says, they keep on being creative. So that is one way you can act as a change maker, to use your skills, your artistic skills. You are into writing articles, publishing them on social media, or even creating spaces where you can write about topics that are of public concern or that you are passionate about, using your art, using your skills, your handmade skills, using your digital skills. You design posters. If you're into modeling, how can you best use what you're passionate about to portray a message, a positive message, and to advocate for whatever that you are passionate about? So the first type of change maker we would have, it is the creatives. And then we would also have the communicators. So we'd say that the communicators are people who share information with intentions to bring awareness, to educate, motivate, and also to influence others positively. So they are passionate about driving conversations and debates that that ignite change, change of attitudes and perceptions. They constantly work on their public speaking skills, communication skills. So those people, they enjoy communicating and socializing with people, just to improve their advocacy. So they would constantly work on their public speaking and communication skills. So they have so if you're someone who has an inquiring mind, you read often and you do research to improve your activism, you would be considered a communicator, as a type of change maker, someone who engages in dialogues, debates, and delivers speeches or share useful insights, and maybe even writing, because writing is also a type of communication, writing blogs, publishing them on social media, or a certain space, because writing is also considered as a form of communication. But importantly, as a communicator, is that you carry such information to close circles as well, like your family and your friends. That is your first stage, that is your first podium as a communicator, the people around you, your small circles. And the last type of a change maker we would identify is the organizers. So these are people with a peculiar skill of being able to brainstorm open-mindedly, to plan thoroughly and execute. So that is what is very important about them, is that they turn ideas into reality, and they're able to pay attention to the smallest detail, but yet important detail. So organizers are big team players, and they encourage and active action. They want to see critical thinking manifest, and you will see them as people, or if you are someone who is very good at multitasking and in organizing meetings, events, campaigns, and assisting people to. So that is another way one can become a change maker. However, if, as I was speaking or explaining these three different types of makers, you feel like you identify with all of them, because it's possible that you can say, I identify, I feel like I am a creative, I am a communicator, I am an organizer. That is totally fine, right? Because you can rank them. You can rank them, you say, I am more of a communicator, but again, I still feel like I am creative and I can organize. Or maybe you can strongly identify with one, just one, or you can strongly identify with more than one, or just two, or all of them. But also, if you feel like you do not fit in any of those categories, that is completely fine, because that is what a change maker is all about. It's about being a trailblazer and finding new ways to solve problems each and every day. So if you feel like you do not identify or fit in any of the three categories, that is fine. But that doesn't mean that there is no role for you in creating change or making a difference. But the fact that you are a person with abilities and you are here today, it means that there is something that you can still contribute with when it comes to driving social change. No. Can we please go to the next? Okay, so I wanted us to do a little activity. It will take 5 minutes, but I don't know when it comes to time if you will be able to continue with it. Sabrina, can you please indicate?
Yes,
I believe
yes.
I believe we can. Okay, so in the chat, Sabrina just posted a Mentimeter link for us. Can you please go to www.menti.com, and then when we get there, yes, Stefan.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you very much. For me, I only had one question before you proceed.
Okay.
I thank you for the good presentation. I was following and wondering how you measure this, like resilience, increasing resilience, personality. How are you able to document the impact of that after the end of the project?
Thank you so much for your question. So, in the Nelson Mandela Bay, we work with 45 high schools. So reports go according to those schools. It is up to the learners to come up with projects and support those projects per school. So the reporting would help us to measure that. So the project is in its second year, and it's a 3-year project. So next year would be the year to collect everything, because now we're still in the progress. We're still in the progress. We've done 3 campaigns so far on 3 topics, and the learners are improving. Their self-confidence is increasing. They are exploring more of themselves. I mean, they started when they were in grade 9, some are in grade 10 now. So there's challenges. And also, yes, we had a research survey before the learners were part of the project, and we're planning to do a post survey, or rather a research questionnaire after the project. So we had a research survey. So hopefully the results would be better, or there will be improvement after
Yeah.
the
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, and of course, that leads me to the last question, which will also be concerning about the context where that change is taking place, because you're talking about the change maker, and for the change to take, it must take place in a particular context. That refers to the voice of the local community. Is it also captured in your project?
So for this particular project, the community is the schools, and obviously they don't, we encourage them to not, so there would be like 5 change makers in a school. So we encourage them to not work in isolation, but to always collaborate with others, and to encourage others to drive the change with them. So they understand their role as innovators, yes, and initiators, but they understand that they are taking the change to the people so that the people can work with them. So the people in this case being other learners. So our community is very small, in the sense of it is schools for this project. However, with Learn for Life would have their project works, which is similar to campaigns, and they would invite parents of the learners, they would invite community members. And we can say that in that instance, because Learn for Life is holistic, the change maker model is holistic, all the components, things like the behavior of a child changing at home in a positive way could be one indicator that the project or the methods are working, or teachers saying the child has improved since they are part of the program. So now this is Learn for Life, the project that is based in Hamba. But for my project, which is broad in quantity, we keep our community small as the schools. I hope I tried to answer your question.
Yeah, thank you very much. Was very comprehensive. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I don't know whether we mentioned that there is a pin. There is a pin for the Mentimeter. Maybe with a thumbs up if you are able to log into Mentimeter. So you go to www.menti.com, and then the code there will be 38618666. And then there is a question. I would request, yes, see, I see people are already writing. So what are your superpowers? So your superpower could be anything that you're good at. It could even be a positive quality about you. It could be a skill, it could be knowledge, anything. So I'd give everyone one more minute to just write down your superpowers. I already see that there are people who are good at organizing meetings, people who are good at being attentive, which is a very important skill, people who are empathetic, listening, people who have effective and and active listening skills, communication, organizing. I have put ideas into words. Oh, that is a great superpower. That is a great superpower, to be able to articulate yourself. So the purpose of this activity is always, you can even do it also with your groups, is always to say that in this group alone, we haven't gone back to our bigger groups, into our communities, but in this group alone, in this meeting, Zoom meeting today alone, we are this resourceful. There are people who are good in listening. There are people who are good in communicating, organizing, who are good at being attentive, and also asking. That is a very important characteristic, to be able to use your mind inquisitively and to be curious, that opens a lot of doors. And also there's someone who is good at mentoring. So I'm so glad that we are able to identify our superpowers. If we could go to my presentation again, the last question there was, thank you. Please save those superpowers, even if it's a screenshot for me. I'm so happy. The last question and the last slide for my presentation would be, what areas of concern or what are you passionate about, or which topics move you? I don't know whether we write that on Mentimeter as well. Okay, so I believe there's a list of areas of concern or topics, but which area of concern would you say moves you or you're passionate about? I see there's gender justice, there's flight and migration, post-colonialism and anti-racism, resources and consumption, human rights, sustainable digitalization, and others. Oh, I like that, because it means that we are able to think out of the box and we do not just follow what is here. So there are people who share same passions here already: human rights, gender justice, flight and migration. That is awesome. Remember, we also have the Padlet that Sabrina asked us to fill, even if it's after this. It would be nice also to mention these there, so that we know who we can collaborate with and work with moving forward as change makers. Thank you so much for taking your time to listen to my presentation, and also taking time to participate in the small activity. I would now give room for questions, comments, and answers with the help of my fellow colleague.
Yeah, my question was related to how you ensure the continuity of the projects you do once the funding ends. Once these projects you have done them and the funding is gone, how do you ensure that they can be able to sustain themselves afterwards?
Okay, thank you so much. I think for us, the advantage is identifying a small community, which is schools, and also the learners with the resources that they use. They don't use much resources. So usually they would need themselves, their minds to plan and be creative, use their skills, and the most that they could use or need is campaigning materials such as banners, t-shirts, or handbooks, or a mic and a speaker. Hence, we try to ask, what is it that you can offer as a person? So we're also running away.
Andisiwe, you still there? I cannot hear you anymore, but maybe the others.
Oh, so sorry, I muted myself by mistake. So ours is to try to limit as much resources to be used as possible during the time Masifunde is still in those small communities, which is schools. So it's always about learners using what they can do. How can you contribute? Can you contribute with your skills, with your resources, with your time, so that even if Masifunde is out due to no funding, but the learners know that what I need is to organize a meeting, to have something that will entertain people and also be educative in the same way. So for us, our advantage is keeping our communities small so that we don't need a lot of resources. And it's always on what can you do. So yes, maybe our problem is that we're tackling is poverty. Don't think about, no, I'm gonna buy food for them. No, but can we think about, let's start a garden so that they can have food to sustain themselves. So it's all, we always think ahead when it comes to that. But yes, when funding runs out, that becomes a challenge, but we try to ensure that the learners use what they have already. So having small communities is an advantage for us. Babalo, you have a question?
Not a question, Andisiwe, but maybe to also to further think about the question, and maybe I think it's a good question to pose to everyone who's on the platform, because part of the reason why we're here is to start thinking about, so if the project is not in a small community, the project is not school based, and the project needs much more resources, how could we ensure the inflow of finances into the project? And I suppose if we look at Masifunde as maybe perhaps a case study, is that one way that Masifunde sustains, and if we look at Masifunde as being a change maker, and one way Masifunde sustains this process is, apart from applying for funding from funders who want to fund these types of projects, it's building a network of people who believe in this idea and who share who share the same desires, I guess, to see your community improve, your community improved. So you would, in that way, you would then build a donorship, a consistent donorship. Another way would be what Masifunde, I guess, is also doing is to add elements of social entrepreneurship to it. To how do we turn, so the skills that we've developed as Masifunde, the skills, the facilitation skills that we've developed, how can we monetize these and use them to train other organizations or wherever, and organization, not necessarily the community that I'm serving, but other organizations, in order to bring in funds into the project that I'm doing. So there are multiple ways that you could think of sustainability in terms of finances and the flow of money into a project, depending on the scale and size of the project. You could start very small, which is what we are advocating for here. You could start very small, such that your project doesn't necessarily need huge sums of startup capital in order to start. As Andisiwe mentioned, a garden. The only thing that you need is perhaps seeds, and if you're starting this garden at the school, that schools have land or vacant land that is available, so those kind of things. So depending, so that's how I thought about the question when you pose it.